You are listening to the Red Pill Chronicles, where we help awakening souls deal with the blue pill world. I'm your host, John Dennison, and together we'll explore how to take an inner approach to your outer affairs so you can build a better life and a better world to live it in. Hello, my friend. This is John Dennison, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Red Pill Chronicles. It's been a while since I've been with you, and appreciate your patience in awaiting my return, or if you didn't know I left, then maybe I was doing something wrong. But anyway, I am here with you today. Spirit has allowed me to come forward and speak with you again about some of these issues that we're going to talk about today. And before I get started, I want to let you know that if you have any questions about any of my work, you can reach me through johndennison.com. It is a portal to all of my work, so it's where you can find links over to Peace Options and Whisper Zone and the podcast and the Mission Launch and all the other things, other projects that I've been involved in. Anyway, today we're going to talk about weaving through the energies of conflict. And I want to show you a different way of looking at your world, because part of the process of traveling the spiritual path, or even understanding yourself and how you're going to interact with the world around you, is to begin to understand the flow of energy. And what we're talking about now is our energies are not only flowing in your world and between you and other people, but also the energies that are flowing within you. And that's where we're going to start today, because nothing is the way it seems. Absolutely nothing. All you see in your outer affairs, and by outer affairs, I'm referring to the conditions of the outer world around you. In other words, what's going on in your life and in that world is a symptom or a manifestation of energy. It's energy that is motivating actions. It's energy that is creating responses. It's energy that is allowing you to evolve, should you choose. Well, even if you don't choose, you're going to evolve through your interaction with these energies. So part of this whole process is one of bringing consciousness to your life. And by consciousness in this instance, we're going to use it in terms of awareness. It encompasses a whole lot more than that. But consciousness in terms of the energies of conflict is going to become an awareness of the things that are going on beneath the surface. You can think of these energies any way you like, but energies are motivated by light. It's light that allows you to see them, and it's light that allows you to work with them. It's light which allows you to set the intention with which you'll interact with them. By the way, before I get too far into this, I apologize for any background noise you may hear. I don't work out of a studio. It's more of a home office, and this happens to be the day all of the landscapers are cutting grass around us. So should it get rather loud, you'll understand why. And I'll try to pause it during those moments and maybe filter it out in the editing process. But again, my apologies in advance if it get interrupted by that, or at least to a point that it gets difficult to hear me. Now, as again I told you, nothing is the way it seems. Nothing is the way it seems. You have to look beneath the surface to see the interaction of energy and how energy is creating and manifesting the circumstances that are bringing the experiences of your life. And remember, traveling the spiritual path is really, it's not a matter of trying to evolve yourself so you can all of a sudden achieve unity with God. that's the ultimate destination. But it takes a long way to get there, and none of us are anywhere close to that at the moment. The energy is creating the experiences by which you know yourself and your relationship with this world. And through those experiences, your consciousness shifts and expands. You see more. You have different perspectives. You evolve. And it's this process of conscious evolution that those on the spiritual path are undertaking. Regardless of the tradition that you're following, what you're really trying to do is use consciousness to moderate the ego. Not so much to get it out of the way, as the Buddhists say, where you negate the ego, but to enlist it in the process of working with whatever it is that's inside you in that unseen world of nonlinear reality. And the area that I want to point your attention to at this moment are what I call inner conditions. Inner conditions are it's the state of what's going on inside of you. Because these inner conditions all work together in a complex interaction to guide how you act, how you respond, how you see what's going on. And sometimes those conditions are totally within your control. And other times they happen upon impulse or inspiration. Other times they are just knee-jerk reactions to the stuff that happens outside of you. And conflict is a situation or a series of situations that allow you to look within you. It's through the outer actions and your engagement with others that you begin to see into yourself if you choose to do so. And it's this period of reflection of how we see and experience and process what happens in our lives that allows us to grow. And I'm assuming that growth is important to you, as it should be to all beings, and that we grow toward the light, like plants. But the light that we're growing toward is not just the sun. It's the light of the soul that's shining from within. And so here what we're going to do is allow the light to show you some of these inner conditions within you so that you can become more aware of what they are doing and how they're impacting the life you're living. Because by your awareness allows you a choice of what to do with them. And you can just ignore them, or you could choose to try to do something about them or do something with them. So these inner conditions are all the result of what I call egoic distortions. Now understand that from the state of beginning, before form, in a state of wuji, as the Chinese would have called it, or the Taoists particularly would have called it, this is that state of non-form, non-existence before existence begins. And if you think of the yin-yang system, yin-yang symbol, you'll see the two snakes, the black snake and the white snake, that are eating each other's tail. And one of these is wuji, the non-physical, we'll call it potential of existence. And then you have the physical or manifestation of the energy, which is the white, and they both, one gives way to the other, and it's in this great flow of energy back and forth. So in the beginning, and gosh, it's going to be hard to talk about in the beginning without sounding dogmatic here. And I really don't want to assert this as being true. I'm going to show you this as a perspective. And this is a perspective that I've had for all my life, based upon my Taoist beliefs, that the Tao is everything, as in God, as is in all, in all. Is that there's, in the beginning, and again it's the law of one as well, which is in the beginning there was an intention formed through consciousness, let's say of God or of the Tao, to know itself. And in order to do that, it started creating certain conditions, certain rules or principles under which it would manifest the realities through which it would gather the experiences to know itself. It is the process of beginning the separation into individuated identities and the physical matter that we see in the world and universe. These inner conditions all begin as distortions of the one true Tao. And the very first principle under that is the principle of free will. The second principle is of love, and the third, the law, is the law of light. Light is what allows us to apply love, to exercise free will responsibly and with restraint. Anyway, that's a real short summation of this particular perspective on creation. And it's whether you agree with it or not doesn't matter. What I want you to understand is it is this process of distortion, that it is distortion of the whole, which is what allows the separation, which allows us to live under this illusion that we are separate from all that is. Now, this illusion, or so it's called as an illusion, the Maya is the term that the ancient Indians used to use. The great illusion is a distortion of the light, a distortion of the true reality that none of us really know. But we have beliefs about, ideas about what it is and how it works. And this is what I've just shared with you, is this set of perspectives on that process. Now we get into the individuated identities that we know ourselves to be. In other words, I know myself to be me. I am not you. I am not this desk in front of me. I am not the microphone I'm speaking to. I am not the mower that's making all the racket outside. I am me. I am this individual. I am this identity, or this sense of identity that my consciousness wears in this world. So that is a distortion. Understand, we are all distortions. So I'm not using the term distortion as being good or bad. I'm using distortion to refer to the fact that we're only seeing it in a certain perspective, and that there is more, because there's always more. This is why I want you to look beneath the surface. Nothing is as it seems. The egoic distortions that we'll start with are fear and desire. Fear and desire are conditions, and of which the light is distorted within us to basically motivate us to take certain actions in this life. It's used to help get us to create the experiences that we're here for. And many people are going to say, "Oh, you can't have a fear, and you can't." And the Buddhists believe that you have to release desire. In fact, that's a core teaching of the ancient wisdom, is the release of desire. But in this instance, I want you to see it as the carrot and stick. that are being used to guide you through your life. And fear, under the ancient wisdom teaching, is the same as desire. Desire is an attraction to an object that we think is going to bring us pleasure. Whereas fear is a desire of what we think is going to bring us pain. So in other words, it's a desire to avoid a situation. So fear and desire are really flip sides of the same energy. It's just a judgment that we make as to whether it's a fear or desire. But either way, look at yourself. Look at your life. This desire, these fears, these motivate so much of what you do. And you'll find that they're at work behind all the conflicts in your life and world. And it's the interaction of these fears and desires, yours, not just yours with other people, but the interaction of your fear and desire within you, that I want you to begin to look at. And this is going to take a lot of, I won't say soul searching, because you're not really, it's a psychological type of an exercise where you're really looking at what's going on inside your mind. Not to change it, to understand it. Your job on the spiritual path, at least according to my understanding and how I've approached it and taught it over the years, is that what we're doing is giving ourselves more choice over how we gather the experiences of our lives. And the primary experience that we're getting is how we know ourselves and what we know ourselves to be. And everything else is to allow that. So when you are in a situation of conflict, you can almost be guaranteed that somewhere beneath the surface on one or both sides is operating fear and desire. These are primary distortions within the being of our greater distortion of our separation that is allowing us to create and gather experiences. So these fears and desires are motivating factors, and they also color how we interact with them. I'll give you an example here. Back at the height of my law practice, when I was doing a lot of litigation, it got to a point that I was realizing that people couldn't take responsibility and set the course for their own affairs until they dealt with the energies that were working within them. And primarily, those energies were their thoughts and emotions that were associated with the and revolved around the subject over which they're fighting. Because I saw the law practice, and well, early on, certainly it was a matter that this arena of conflict was one where you're going to win, and that's just part of the reason I pulled out of the litigation side of things, was because winning became a relative matter based upon the perspective of the different individuals. And a lawyer is sworn to zealously advocate the interests of their client, and they have to set aside their own interests. Well, in this situation of conflict that the law would often bring in a lawsuit, you have people that are fighting, and there's a lot of hard feelings. There's a lot of interest over not just the conflict itself, but over the cost of the conflict, over the time and effort and energy it takes, and the impact it takes on the rest of their lives. So there are a lot of these things that are going into the various litigants that most people never ever consider, at least until it's time until those things become so great that they can't go on with their fight without doing something about them. This fear and desire became so obvious to me that I could see the impact that the fight's always over what somebody wants. Whose interest is going to be served? And I realized that they couldn't do anything to move past the conflict and try to figure out a resolution until they can dissipate the energies that were involved in the conflict. And as I told you, the thoughts and particularly the emotions associated with it, they had to basically pay the toll of conflict in order to do something about these emotions, these strong emotions that were released in them as a result of the things that had happened to them. Or if somebody gets in a car accident, they want retribution. They want to be made whole. But after that, pretty soon, they want money. They want to make the other person pay. So there's a desire there. But those emotions and those thoughts associated with it have to be dealt with. So I started seeing the role of the lawyers shifting as being one of a shepherd of the peace. That it became more a matter of weaving individuals through those energies and getting them to a place where those energies could be sufficiently dissipated until they could take control of their own affairs. Now, sometimes one side or the other never got there, and then they had to go to trial and put their matters in other people's hands. But for the most part, since again the primary issue that is involved in the operation of our universe is free will and the interaction of free will, that these energies had to be dissipated before they could assert their will in order to take responsibility for how things played out. So again, when you are looking at conflict, the conflict in your life, the conflicts in the news, the conflicts in our world, it's a result of the interaction of all these distortions. Now, fear and desire work very, very closely, both as triggers and as the result of circumstances. In other words, the conditions that our lives impose upon us or bring to us create desires for something better or fear that things could get worse. But they also shape the beliefs and perspectives with which we interact with our world. And these beliefs and perspectives create filters and biases within us that we have to learn to see and work around and work through and understand their application in order to have more conscious impact over our lives. And again, if you're traveling from the perspective of those traveling the spiritual path, it's not just the impact over your life and how your life plays out, but it's the impact upon your consciousness and how you evolve, what you become, what you are or know yourself to be. So your beliefs and perspectives are extremely important in this whole process because those are going to impose the filters that you're going to see the world with, and they're going to shape how you interact with it. Now, again, it's not just about you. Though your life is about you, the beliefs and perspectives involved in conflict are not just yours. They're in everybody. So as you start to see these conditions within you, fear and desire and belief and perspectives, and the biases they create, you're going to start to see those energies working in other people too. And your job as a spiritual being that's trying to consciously evolve yourself is to figure out how to move through all of those things in a way that's going to create the kind of life and experience that you're trying to get. I don't know what you're here for. It certainly may be an issue of purpose, of trying to add some contribution. And service to others is certainly one of the choices that awakening souls have to make at some point in their evolution. But even if you're choosing to serve others, you're not just dealing with what you want to do. You're dealing with that, or with their needs or their wants. You're dealing with all their fears and desires and how they see things and what they believe and the cultural issues. And we're seeing all this in our world today because we're seeing all these cultures and peoples and beliefs that are all now, that used to be separate, that technology has allowed them to all come together and interact. And you're seeing the result of that. And they are fueling the conflicts because we haven't learned to work within those energies. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do with regard to those energies. This is a choice that you have to make because there are very, very many different factors involved in having a conscious choice over how you're going to move through your world and what you're going to take from your life and put into your life. But within you, within the distortions, I want you to also understand it's not just fear and desire or beliefs and perspectives. There are your thoughts and emotions. And these are energetic threads that flow into you and through you that motivate your actions, that trigger your fears and desires, that shape your beliefs. Your thoughts are said to create your reality. Well, yes, it's an energy. It's one of the energies that flow into you through the light, which allows you to begin to create, to manifest the experiences that you came for. So thought, if you look at your thoughts, you begin to see and begin to become aware of your thoughts. You begin to see how they are interacting with the life you're living. And again, I'm not suggesting you change them. All I want you to do is expand your consciousness so you can see them. Because this is what will empower you to have a choice, to empower you to see and experience yourself in a different way, and to interact with your world in a different way. So you're going to see these thoughts, and these thoughts are transient energies that flow through you and then they're gone. And they'll flow through you and then they're gone. But they kind of wreak their havoc as they come through. They cause you to act, to think, to believe. But why? You're the one who makes the choice of whether to seize upon those thoughts. But they bubble up from somewhere deep inside you. It's not like you, most of the time, are having a conscious decision. Well, I'm going to think this, and this is the thought I'm going to have, and this is what I'm going to do with it. It just kind of happens. So as you are expanding the way you see yourself, and we're talking about inside, seeing how you see yourself. I'm trying to show you how to look at yourself, because how you and what's going on in you is going to impact the conflicts in your life and the conflicts in your world. Then you're going to have your emotions. And we all know what emotions are, man. They're these bursts of energy that come out that give us feelings, that set us in motion. They trigger physiological reactions within us, like the release of adrenaline when we have a sudden fear or a thought that causes us to shrink back from whatever the potential is of a situation. And emotions, again, they're like thoughts. They come in waves. They flow in patterns. And when you become conscious of your inner world, you're going to start seeing the patterns of your thoughts and emotions. Or at least, I hope you will. Because you're going to understand that it's these patterns that you're dealing with. It's these patterns that are setting up the situations within your life. And so as you look at the emotion, and most of the time, most spiritual teachers they're really touchy-feely, trying to get you, okay, change your thoughts. Well, I don't care if you change your thoughts. It's not up to me. It's up to you. They can tell you what to do, but then they're not giving you free will. It's totally up to you. And you're going to probably resist if you don't want to change them anyway. So what I want you to believe, or not believe, I want you to see, is that it's your choice what to do with these energies that flow from and through your inner world. And thoughts and emotions are what you're using to create the beliefs and perspectives and to trigger the desires and fears, or to be triggered by the desires and fears. So as you begin to see it within these egoic distortions now, you're looking at the interactions of fears and desires and beliefs and perspectives. And thoughts are what start off and later become the beliefs as you have repetitive thoughts that are reinforced by things within you or your life, that they now take on even more energy. So no longer are they transient, they become kind of stuck in your energy field, and that becomes part of who you know yourself to be. But if you want to be more, or to recognize yourself as more, those beliefs and perspectives, you're holding on tight to them, may not exactly take you where you want to go. And what all I want you to do is to loosen the hold of them so you can see something else. I don't want to tell you what to believe. This is an issue of consciousness. This is an issue of free will. This is an issue of you as a sentient being having choice over the course of your life and how you will engage and interact with your reality. So you decide how to deal with these thoughts. Now, meditations, very, very many schools of meditation are trying to quiet the thoughts. Well, why do you want to quiet your thoughts? I'm not questioning the schools of meditation. I've taught and practiced those many times for many, many, many years. And Zen is one of those that creates a nimbleness of thought where you begin looking at your thoughts and you begin following them from, and transcendental meditation is to follow the thought from where it bubbles into your mind to when it ends. And they use the process of the mantra to quiet the thought. But again, you're created with thoughts. Well, why? What purpose do they serve for the life you're living? How do your thoughts impact who you are? These are the questions that a sentient being that's aware of their effort to approach life from a spiritual perspective will begin to ask. Not to change them, but to understand them. Because you've come into this life for a reason. What is it? What's your life bringing you? What are you doing? How is all this interacting to create the experience of you? So your thoughts and emotions are super important for you to begin to see and become aware of. And you're going to find that when you look at your thoughts, they disappear. When you kind of become aware of thought, it stops. It's like, thoughts are kind of like, quantum physics talks about particles that you have to put your attention on a particle and then it exists. If the attention is not there, it no longer exists within that space and time. Well, a thought is just the opposite of it. When you look at it, it doesn't exist anymore. So it's an experience that's happening these energies are triggering within you. And so you start to look at the thoughts and you look at the experiences that those thoughts are creating. And the same with your emotions. And believe me, as I go back to the spiritual teachings, we're always talking about, the spiritual teachers are always talking about, dealing with your ego and the shadow self or the inner child and all these other terms that they try to put on the fact that there's something inside you that you got to do something about. Why? I'm a very pragmatic person. The spiritual path to me, and from my perspective, has absolutely nothing to do with getting to God. You're going to get there, and you're going to achieve unity consciousness at some point in your existence. And whether you believe it's in this life and you're going to heaven or hell, or you're going to go through a whole series of lives in a series of dimensions, or maybe you're doing them all simultaneously. I don't know. It really doesn't matter. I don't care what you believe, because those beliefs are simply to shape the life and experiences that you're getting now. What matters is, what are you experiencing about you? What are you seeing about yourself? How are you creating yourself, or how are you being created? Now, we take all these fears and desires and beliefs and perspectives and thoughts and emotions, and then we superimpose upon them our attitudes and approaches to our lives. Because we all know that mood plays a big role, and sometimes mood has nothing to do with emotions, and has nothing to do with their thoughts or what you want. It's just, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you're just in a bad mood. Why? Okay? It's how you're experiencing life in that moment. And I love all these do-gooders that kind of say, well, you got to change. You got to do something different. You got to snap out of it. I don't care if you snap out of it. I want you to use it. I want you to try to figure out why you're having it and how it's serving you right now, and to give you a choice over whether you continue to have it or not. And maybe you don't have a choice in terms of whether you can snap out of the mood that you're in. You may be in a good mood or a bad mood or something in between. It doesn't matter. All these things tend to shape how you experience life. But from the interaction of all these things, it creates a predisposition toward action. The physical actions that you take, the words you say, the way you interact with other people. So as you begin to see these energies of conflict within you, and you begin to glimpse pieces of them in others that you may not even see in yourself, they're going to cause you to act. They're going to cause you to set your course. They're going to cause you to engage with life in a certain way. And most of the time, that's not conscious. I would like to believe that we can all become conscious of all of our actions in this world, but we're not. Most of it occurs upon impulse. Most of it comes upon the interaction of these factors that predisposes to certain types of actions, conditions, other emotions, the release of emotions, the certain thoughts. All these things, they create this mishmash of energies within you that leads you into conflict. And the conflict is not always with other people. Most of the conflicts you're going to find that you have with other people, you're going to find are within you as well. In one form or another, you're going to find things within you that are in conflict. You may have a strong desire for something, but you may also find yourself having a repulsion of something. That's the very same thing at another level, or another way of seeing it, of seeing it within yourself. Those are all happening in you right now. My words are setting off energetic responses within you. They're causing you not only to accept or engage or reject what I'm saying, but they're causing you to look at yourself. They're redirecting your attention. And again, that's the idea of consciousness. And everybody wants to be conscious, to be woke in this day and age. And I'm using the term woke as we hear in the news, that it's an awareness of how people treat each other, how we engage each other, the injustices that arise by how we structure and conduct our affairs. Great. That's wonderful. It's a good start. Very superficial, though. Very superficial. The problem with that is because once you start looking at it and seeing these conditions, then you start looking for somebody to blame. You don't take responsibility for your reality or how you engage in your reality. Because it's all there for a purpose, to create experiences for you. So how are you going to use these experiences in yourself? But the key to consciousness starts with attention. Where does your attention drawn in any particular moment? Sometimes you'll be able to focus on one thing for an extended period. At other times, that attention is going to flitter around like a butterfly, and it's going to be here, there, and everywhere else. And if you try to meditate, you're going to understand. And it's not the thought that's flitting around. The thoughts are coming in. It's the attention of what emphasis to give to those thoughts that is happening here. It's the attention of where you're choosing or where you're able to focus right now. Are you focusing upon my words? Are you focusing upon the impact that those words are having? Are you focusing upon the thoughts or emotional responses? Are you focusing upon the past or what you believe is the past of your life and the things that have happened? Or are you looking at the future of what may happen? Probably won't. But it's where you focus your attention. And this is how your mind and soul guide you through this maze of energies. It's through your attention. And the choices it brings you of how to deal with these energies and how to engage them and weave your way through them and avoid them if you choose. And perhaps the greatest distortion, and there are many other distortions, many egoic distortions, but one of the greatest that I have seen and that has been behind conflict has been the issue of identity and self-image. Like, who do you think you are? And not so much who you think you are, is that how do the actions of others impact how you see yourself or how they see you or how you think they see you? Like, when you argue with someone over the smallest point, why do you have that desire? Why do you have that desire to be right? Why do you have the need to be right? Why do you have the emotions that you do? It's because it all reinforces the identity that you've created for yourself and how you see yourself and how you've interact with this world. And it is this identity that you will begin to see. And identity shapes everything. It is the master filter of distortions. Because it's what chooses which distortions are going to be emphasized and which ones you're just going to kind of push to the side. Doesn't mean they're not there. It just means you're not aware of them or choosing to see them or emphasizing them. And all these inner conditions impact your relationships. So conflict is a matter of relationship. It is a matter of the interaction of free will, of how you created with with what you want to be or with what others want to be. And there are 3 levels of relationship that as you're beginning to look at your inner conditions, you begin to look at your relationships. Not the relationships like with another person, like your romantic relationship or whether you get along with your husband or wife. I'm talking about how you establish that relationship and what the energies are that flow back and forth that reinforce who you see yourself to be and or detract from it or engage on certain aspects of yourself to create experiences. So relationship is with others. That's where most of us think about relationship. But also, it's a relationship with yourself that is key to your life. Because it's a relationship between your inner and outer world. It's a relationship between your beliefs and what you choose not to believe. It's a relationship between the emotions that you have and the ones you don't express. All these things the relationships are manifestations of your energy, manifestations of the distortions in you and others and in your world. But there is one relationship which is paramount among all that I want you to see because it is a key, even more so than your relationship with yourself, which is your relationship with God, the relationship with the source of your being. Now, if you're listening to this, I'm assuming you're believing in some sort of a power greater than yourself from which your life flows. And if you're not, that's okay, because that defines your relationship. In other words, your relationship is not to have a belief with this. You're choosing not to have. If you find yourself as an atheist or agnostic, you're choosing not to have a relationship with God. You're choosing to go it alone, basically, in this life, that it's only here or not, it's what's happening now or not at all. And that's fine. So whatever you want to experience for yourself is okay with me. Because it's your life. It's why you're here. But your relationship with God is crucial in terms of how you see and live your life, but also how you see and conduct yourself in accordance with the beliefs you have adopted for this life as to what that God is and how you're going to get to that God, or how you're going to get to the Tao, or to evolve back into unity consciousness, or, as they say, oneness. It is this relationship with God which sets the tone for your relationship with yourself and your relationship with others. For instance, if you believe that God, that everything you think, that everything you are, everything you believe, everything you see and touch is all part of all that is, and God is in all that is, then you may choose to act in a certain way toward it. But if you see yourself separate from God, if you see yourself as an impersonal God that is judging you and going to support you in some things and act against you in others, then you're going to have a different type of relationship with not only with God, but with your life. So these are all choices of perspective and belief and attitudes and that motivate your actions and interact with your thoughts and emotions. So these are the energies of conflict that I want you to see today. I don't care what you do with them. But these energies fuel the interests and agendas that you see in the world, that you hear about in the news, or that you engage with on Twitter or Facebook. And they all shape and determine how you're going to go about that interaction. It's all creating a story, the story of your life, by which you not only will basically, you're writing for yourself as you go along, but also the stories that you tell other people in order to try to influence how things play out. this is where Red Pill comes from. It's from the term started with the movie The Matrix, when Morpheus offers Neo a choice and he holds out a red pill and blue pill. You take the blue pill, you go back to sleep, you forget we ever talked. But you take the red pill, you're going to see things differently. And life will never be the same. When you begin to see the things in terms of the energies of conflict, you're never, ever going to see life the same. When you turn on the news, you're going to start to look and see those energies acting in what other people are trying to get you to think and do and believe. They're telling stories. They call these stories narratives. Every story that a journalist has is rarely does a story of a journalist or quasi-journalist come with just a sheer statement of the facts. It is shaped to tell a story that they want you to hear. Well, why do they want you to hear that story? What do they want? What are they trying to do? What's their purpose? What's their intention? So you start to see these energies, interests, and agendas at work in your life. And it becomes, you have to then change your relationship with your life because you no longer see it the same. It's like Neo going back into the Matrix, that you see it a different way and you engage it a different way. And you may find yourself having superpowers, or you may find yourself having no powers at all. Because some of the things that you want to do, or some of the things, your intentions, may be disempowered by the way you see it. And that may put you in conflict within yourself, with what your life is bringing and what you want for yourself. Because there's always this gap between the life we have and the life we think we want. And the narratives that are being fed to us in the news, in the media, or that is the news, in Hollywood, in entertainment, and in our relationships, are all trying to steer us through that gap in a way that serves their purposes and not necessarily your own. And again, as a sentient being whose consciousness is awakening to see the interaction of these energies, you may find that engagement with them is not only detrimental to the kind of life you want to lead, it doesn't necessarily take you where you want to go. Back when I was probably 20 years ago or so, I was into Qigong, and one of the systems of Qigong I studied for a while was Falun Gong or Falun Dafa, and I was having a conversation with one of the my fellow practitioners, and he was telling me that there are energies that flow back and forth between us. And one of the things is, through the practice of their system, you begin to see these energies flowing back and forth. But actually you begin to see this as a sticky, dark substance that attaches to your aura and changes you when other people are trying to make you do what they want you to do. And as you begin to see the impact of these auras, see, part of the exercise of free will is clearing your aura of the interests and agendas and these dark energies that are trying to influence you. Because they are all there to try to direct how you're going to exercise your free will. Again, it's all about free will. And when you are in conflict, what you're doing is you are bumping up against the free will of someone else. And this is why we are in this world, is to understand ourselves and to understand the interaction of our wills with other people's wills and choose how we're going to respond to those or deal with them. and still create the kind of experiences that we want and think we're here for. So if you are feeling this and you are seeing this, understand that when you're engaging with someone else, this black substance is kind of flowing from them to you and sticking on you, and it's like, ugh. It causes many people to actually disengage with society and disengage from others just to avoid that, because the engagement process is detrimental to their energetic well-being, or at least how they see it that way. I tend to see it another way, that it is all part of creating the experiences that you're getting and how you experience yourself vis-a-vis others. But nevertheless, that's often the result when you start beginning to see these energies. But there becomes a time when your core of who you are, the identity you have, the thoughts and emotions and beliefs that you, and all these distortions that make up you, bump up against those of somebody else, and neither one of you are able to resolve the interaction in a way that makes them become harmonious. And then you fight. And sometimes you fight to stand up for the beliefs that you hold. Sometimes you fight simply because it reflects what they're saying or doing, reflects upon you or the kind of world that you think you need to have in order to gather the experiences that you want. Now, I could sit here and talk about the effects on our world, and one of these days I probably will, but I'm getting a little longer than I wanted to go today. But you're going to begin to see now that these energies and interests are all at play in everything that you do. And you're going to have to figure out how to weave your way through them. And sometimes you can't see what's going on. It's the old, you can't see the forest for the trees. Get so caught up in what's happening that you find yourself bumping up against other people's energies, and you're not sure what, you don't even know what's going on inside yourself. So you got to start sorting through the process. And again, many spiritual teachers, New Age or, and traditional, all talk about moderating the ego and basically changing yourself. I take more of a Taoist approach. You can try to change yourself if you like. But I think you're created the way you are for a reason. So before you try to change it, it's kind of important to understand, well, how am I? Why am I this way? And what can I do with it? What is it offering my soul? Where's the value to my journey back to source? But again, if you're having trouble seeing the forest for the trees, or you're bumping up against the energies flowing through your life or others, just know you don't have to go it alone. I'm here. I offer consultations to help. As you know, I was a lawyer, spiritual teacher, peacemaker, all kinds of other stuff. That's why I got so many different websites. But again, they're all central. They all flow back into and out of JohnDennison.com. That's my name. I'm about the one and the journey back to the one through how we use the life here. If you need help along the way, stop by and see me. Maybe I can give you a hand. Anyway, God bless you indeed. Just realize the life you're living matters, and you matter. Go with love. You have been listening to the Red Pill Chronicles, where we help awakening souls move in a better way through a blue pill world. For more information, visit us at peaceoptions.com to explore how you can find your peace through knowing yourself and following your inner voice. Or at missionlaunch.com, where we offer coaching and consulting to help you make the difference in your world.